Want to send up a rest in peace to former NBA Commissioner David Stern, who died earlier today. It's Wednesday as we bring in the new year. David Stern was 77 years old. He died of a brain hemorrhage. He had pretty much been hospitalized the entire December. I think he had the brain hemorrhage 3 weeks ago. He did die with his wife alongside family, pretty much next to him bedside. Again, rest in peace to David Stern. I got a running joke about the former commissioner. I tell people all the time, Adam Silver is the commissioner that the fans want, but David Stern was the commissioner that the fans actually need. Adam Silver, to me, the current commissioner of the NBA, is too pro player. David Stern was a lot less pro player, but he was a lot more for the fans and the product of growing the game of basketball. Adam Silver can't do what he's doing right now if not for David Stern, the impact, the good times and the bad. You know, David Stern's been the commissioner since 19? He's been there a long time. What is that? He's been around the NBA since 1984. Yeah, no, this is a big deal that you just lost a guy who pretty much has seen the Michael Jordan era, the Shaquille O'Neal, the Allen Iverson, the Kobe Bryant, the LeBron James era. He was the guy for all of it. And I look around and I think to myself, David Stern is never going to get the credit that he deserves, because kind of like Roger Goodell of the NFL, he's looked at as anti. He's looked at as the villain, right? And I'm a black man, so I'm obviously happy that players are getting their money nowadays. And I mean, a lot of guys are getting paid nowadays. And it's a great thing to see these young, since the NBA is predominantly black, great thing to see a lot of these African Americans get bread. I mean, you're talking about some guys that literally ride the bench are making $10 million a year. That's crazy. To not even be a guy that's productive on the court and to walk away with 7 figures, like that, 8 figures for some of these guys, that's crazy. The type of money that you can make in the NBA. You got to give credit to Adam Silver, what he's doing right now. You got to also give a lot of credit to David Stern and the principles that he put in place to grow the game of basketball. David Stern's legacy is all over the place, to be honest with you. It just depends on who you ask. I think his defining moment, or what most people will remember him by, is he was the guy. I'm a Laker fan, so this one hurt. At the time, and people always tell half the story, at the time, the Hornets were owned by the NBA. I'm a Laker fan, and even I can admit that. All right? The Hornets were owned by the NBA, and the infamous Chris Paul for Pau Gasol and Lamar Odom trade that would have gave Kobe Bryant CP3 in his prime, with Kobe still on the back end of his prime. Who knows what those two would have done in the backcourt together, and they would have gotten some other guys around them. Would have gave the Lakers another opportunity to win another championship or two, closer to 2010, 2011-ish, after they had already had their run as currently constructed. A lot of people give David Stern a lot of flack for that, but I have to admit, the guy was trying to look out for the Hornets. He didn't veto it as the owner of the commissioner of the league. He vetoed it as the owner of the Hornets. I don't know why people forget that. But again, David Stern's legacy all over the place. I just want to get it right when it comes to this guy. Look, I've worked for a plethora of companies, fast food companies. I worked at ESPN. Though I don't agree with every decision that the hire to make the VPs, make the owners, whatever you want to call them, some of the decisions that they make, at the end of the day, I look back on a lot of decisions and be like, you know what? I didn't like it. Being in a moment, it wasn't great for me. But looking back, it was right for the business and the brand. And David Stern's one of those commissioners where you, in the moment, you're like, he's the parent who never lets you go out past 12 at night. He's the parent that's always strict about you doing your homework. And sometimes the parent gets it wrong, right? Sometimes that's the parent who was too focused on grades and not focused enough on social activity. So I just want to be clear. David Stern got stuff wrong in the NBA. There were racist owners within the National Basketball Association under his watch, a la the Donald Sterlings of the world and a couple more that I won't name, right? there was a lot going on in the David Stern era. He did not get everything correct. There was a gap between the Michael Jordan era to, I'd say, the end of Kobe when LeBron got going, where the ratings weren't great. When Mike left, I mean, it was a little gap. When the Spurs were winning it and the Pistons were winning, ratings were down. But I think overall, David Stern put out a product of integrity. The focus was always on the product. And I think a little bit of now we're losing that. And again, I'll never forget his classic interview with Jim Rome. When he flat-foot told Jim Rome, then working, I believe, with ESPN, he flat-foot said, when was the last time you beat on your wife? I know it's not good to say, but damn, it was classic. David Stern, again, legendary commissioner. Rest in peace. Prayers to your family. Tough loss for the NBA. A guy that I'll always remember as a guy who did what he thought was best for the business of the NBA. He always had what he thought was best for the business. Is he going to go down as the commissioner who always gave the players what they want? No. But I believe in his tenure, he got it right. And to give him credit, remember after the Ron Artest brawl in Detroit, right? That Pacers-Pistons brawl on ESPN one Friday night many years ago. It was like 14, 15 years ago. I always remember because David Stern suspended Ron Artest. They were at game 9 in the season, and David Stern suspended Ron Artest for 73 games. He did not play another game that season. And I always remembered, after that, there were a couple of incidents with the NBA and players and fights, but we didn't really ever get another player going into the crowd type incident. And I think it's because David Stern was so hard suspending Steven Jackson, Jermaine O'Neal. I always thought he was the guy who, things are going to happen. Players are going to get into it. But we can't ever have players going into the stands fighting fans. And we can't ever have fans throwing drinks on players. And I thought David Stern was super, super stern, no pun intended, in his punishment on both sides. That really never has happened again. And I think that's one of the things he needs to be known for. And a guy who always cared about the NBA. Rest in peace. And again, prayers to his family. David Stern, dead at the age of 77. You into sports? We got you. NFL news? I got you. NBA news, NBA highlights, NBA full coverage, feature stories, all that great stuff. I got you. We even got a little bit of Madden and 2K mixed in. Subscribe to this platform, and I got you. More quality content on the way. Subscribe.